When we first started on this journey, it was all about trying to find people with amazing stories. And one of the best things about the Maritimes is there are so many of these so-called maritime machines, like what's behind door number 1, because I think this is going to impress the heck out of you, because it certainly has given me quite a start, and in a good way, because we're going to start with a 1969 Chevelle SS. And Peter.
Yes, sir.
So nice to see you.
Hi.
Yeah. Thank you for showing us your car.
You're most certainly welcome.
We're here looking at something that's pretty special, and this whole show is about time travel. And I'm thinking, I was born in 1970. This vehicle was born when?
1969.
And how do you know exactly when it was born?
If this car is built in Canada and sold in Canada, there's actually a company through GM where you can send the VIN number and they will send you back all the information right down to when it went down the assembly line and to the dealership that got it.
And this vehicle, you say, came off the line?
December 24th, 1968.
What a great Christmas present.
Yep.
And then it landed where? Where did it end up?
This car landed in Forbes, Chevrolet in Dartmouth. Probably not at the location they're at now, or we're at. It probably was downtown more.
Right.
And it was shipped to them on January the 10th, 1969.
I'm looking at an inspection sticker here. I didn't think they made inspection stickers back in 1969.
There's a funny story to that. Actually, a gentleman came in for an inspection on a trailer, and that was on the trailer. And I asked him if I could have that, and I had it reproduced for 69.
Wow. Now, these vehicles were at a time when it was all about horsepower, it's about style, there were a lot of things that went into producing these vehicles. What was it about a 69 Chevelle that was attractive to you?
Well, a couple of things. I remember as a young teenager driving around in the back seat of a 69 Chevelle, but it was a 300 and it had a 6-cylinder in it. And I remember someday I was going to own one, and this one came up for sale and I got it.
People talk about numbers matching. Is this original to 1969 or 68 when it was built?
Unfortunately, the only thing that's original in this car are the panels. Everything else has been upgraded to modern features. The original 396 big block was not in the car when I got it. The original 4-speed was in the car, but it was in very bad shape. So over the years, I just started replacing things. The 396 wasn't any good, so I had put in a 454, and then I decided to put a stroker in it, which is now a 496.
Now, there's all kinds of terminology you've used there, and your day job, when you're not driving cars like this, what is it that you do?
I'm fixing them. I love it. I love fixing them.
I'd love to see what it looks like under the hood. As you say, you've upgraded and you've changed a few things, but that's part of the car show culture too.
Yes, it is.
Let's take a look under the hood.
Okay.
1969 Chevelle SS, big block car, and you say part of the reason we know that is because of the hood?
That's correct. That's what they call a big block hood. Just to get a little more air into the engine compartment. It's not a forced air induction system or anything like that. It's just to let the engine compartment breathe a little better.
All right, so let's lift her up and see what's inside. Now that does not look like it would have looked like in 1969.
No, actually those valve covers would have been chrome and the engine block would have been orange.
Now the size of the block is pretty much the same?
Yes, yep, pretty much the same.
Now you've added a few extra things here. I noticed, obviously you mentioned about the upgrade to the brakes.
Yeah, it's actually, the upper control arms have been replaced with SPC arms, and they're actually adjustable with a turnbuckle. We don't need to put shims in them. You can just turn the nuts in and out to get your camber caster. I also put a hydraulic clutch in it, so there's no linkage whatsoever anymore.
Okay.
Set of hinges on it that have little shocks on it instead of the big spring. Electric fans.
Oversized radiator?
Oversized.
Yep.
Yeah, you need it for a big block because they like to run a little hot. It has a V-groove single belt system on it, if you look down in there. Running the stock fuel pump. but the fuel lines are 1/2 inch instead of 3/8.
So why did you choose not to go with a modern fuel system for this?
Fuel injector system?
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because the guy that built the engine said, no, don't do fuel injection. Leave a carburetor. So that's what I did.
So in the last 20 years, this car has come into your life.
Yep.
What did it look like then compared to how it looks today?
Well, when I first got the car, it had no interior in it except for 2 white pearl seats and 2 white door skins, which were rotten on the bottom. There was no carpet in the car. There was a big hole in the floor where somebody had blown the transmission out of it and it come up through the floor. The front fenders were rotted at the bottom. The good part is that it had 2 new quarters put on it. When I got the car, I had to put a door skin on it and a sill, and I put 2 GM fenders on it. The story on the fenders is you never think that back in 2002 that there'd be a set in stock in Moncton. I called the dealership I dealt with. They said, yeah, there's a set of those in Moncton. I said, oh my God, send them.
Yeah.
So I got them, yeah.
Now, this car, obviously the VIN would have given you the information about the powertrain that was in it when it was coming
Yep.
from the factory. Sometimes it'll indicate paint color. Was it anything close to this?
No, actually, the VIN number of this car is the first 3 numbers of 136, which say that it's an SS car. This car, when it left the factory, was a glacier blue. When I got the car, it was blue. I'm not sure if it was glacier blue, but I had it painted a couple of times to the blue that I liked, and then I changed it to this color.
And why was this color the one you chose? What was it about this that attracted you?
When this car is in the sunlight, it is like boing, like it just really stands out. Like the paint on it is just phenomenal.
But this is a time machine. Mm-hmm. Where does it take you when you're behind the wheel?
I guess it just takes me back to my teenage years, and you know, when we were kids, there was all kinds of these around. Good luck trying to find a good one now.
I'd love to take a ride in this beautiful car. Does she have a name? Did you name the car? Does it have?
No, it doesn't have a name, but when it was blue, they used to call it Blueberry. I don't have a name for it other than my daughters seem to think it's my 3rd daughter, so.
There were times when you go, if I only had that car from when I was a kid, wouldn't that make my life a whole lot better? And this is in a lot of ways what this show is about, time traveling. And we're doing that with Peter here in the '69 Chevelle. Nice sound. So you were saying the fact that this has no window post is obviously a design feature.
Yep.
But they did make 68, 69 Chevelles with the post.
Yeah, they were called a 300 post.
And the difference is this gives us a wide open, unobstructed view.
This would be a coupe.
Right.
I believe that's what it is, yeah.
And to do a hard top.
I think there's a 2-door hard top,
Yeah.
maybe. I've had this car so long that some of the stuff I remember with the car,
Yep.
it just kind of goes away.
Well, a little warm it up. Now, it's got a tilt column. It's got a few other things. I noticed the LED headlights.
Yeah.
So you've made some would call it rest-a-mod, but did you put discs all the way around?
Yeah, it has 4-wheel wheelward disc brakes. It has a Tremec 5-speed. It came stock with a 4-speed.
Right.
It's easier to drive on the highway with a 5-speed because it knocks the RPMs down to about 17. Big blocks don't like a lot of RPM. They can take it, but they don't like it. And then I put a 496 in it. I also have a complete adjustable suspension, front and back, coilovers, all 4 corners. What else? Electric fans, digital resto gauges, Bluetooth radio.
Some of it's for comfort, some of it's obviously for performance.
Yeah.
And to find that balance, obviously you drove this before you put those extra modifications
Oh
in it.
my
How
God.
does it handle compared to the way it was?
Well, I was going out the 103 one day, and some guy in a Camaro went by me, and I said, I'm gonna go chase him. And I went across this bridge before exit 4, and the whole car was like, hello. I was like in a cloud. It was like all over the place. And so I took it home. I said, man, I gotta change something on this car.
I'm just taking a look. It looks pretty much like a stock 69, the dash, but it's not original.
Well, the dash is original.
Okay. But what's in the dash, the gauges, those are all
Yeah,
replacement?
that's all replacement, retro stuff. It's, latest technology, but old school looking.
So you can, I assume, adjust the speedometer so it's more accurate based on tire size, wheel size?
You can.
Okay.
And,
But you don't have.
Yeah, I haven't. All the gauges, so you can change the colors of the gauges. There's like 10 or 15 different colors you can go with. You can change the needle sweep, all kinds of stuff.
Now, what's really odd for me is there is no key. This would have had a column key.
This was actually the first year for the ignition in the steering column. 68 was the last year. 68's had them kind of like where this lighter is.
Right.
And so this is the first year for this type of key. And yes, the key is gone. It's just a push start. And you also need a remote and a couple other things to get it to go.
This is a car that's licensed and registered for the road. You mentioned it is also a car you take to car shows.
Yes, it is.
And what is it about car shows? What is it about that car culture that is attractive to you? And what is it like showing up with something like this, which is an icon of muscle cars from the 1960s?
Well, there's lots of icon muscle cars in Nova Scotia, and when you go to a car show in Nova Scotia, you better be prepared to see some bad, I can't say it, bad rides.
Yeah.
Some really awesome rides in Nova Scotia. Lots of Chevelles, Super Bs, Chargers, Camaros, there's all kinds of them. Nova Scotia has got a really good car culture. Even the young guys were starting to build some pretty cool cars.
Now, this car, as you say, was something you remembered as a kid and you always wanted. So when you bring those two things together and you show up at a car show, must be lots of stories. Do you have a favorite story? Did someone come up to you and go, oh, I had one just like this, or?
Well, I'll tell you a story that really means a lot to me. The guy I bought this from, he's no longer with us. And I was at a car show, I believe in New Minas, and his daughter came up to the car and said, is this so-and-so's car? I said, yes, it is. He said, I'm his daughter. And I went, oh my God. So I said, here, get in the car. Get in the car. She got in the car. I took the front license plate off it, gave it to her because it was the same license plate that was on it when he had it, and I gave her a couple of pictures of the car. And that really meant a lot to her.
Tell me about the first car you bought.
First car I didn't buy, it was given to me. It was a 1977 Olds Omega.
Okay.
And it was a four-door. It had a 305 four-barrel in it. And yeah, it worked really well. It was a rust bucket. I went to grab the door handle to open the door, and the handle fell off. And then the window posts were pretty bad. But it was a starter car. And then, unfortunately, I was going into work, and yeah, I rolled it on the 103.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, middle of a snowstorm, ice and stuff. It was, yeah, it was black ice on the road. And then the next car I got was a 79 Bel Air.
Okay. It's a beautiful car. Badges, these were all original?
Those are like aftermarket market
so-
badges. Yeah,
Reproductions.
reproduction. Yep.
So you say 396 was what this came out of the factory with?
That's an L34.
An L34. And you say the VIN showed it was an SS car.
Yes.
So for people who are watching who go, well, I've heard of SS, but I don't know what that means. What did that mean in the context of this Chevelle in 1968, 69?
Super Sport.
And that meant what, basically?
I think it was like a trim package.
Okay.
Yeah. Like you couldn't get well, I suppose you could order a standard Chevelle with a 396 in it if you wanted to. But in order to be an SS, it had to have a big block. back in '69, automatic or standard, sway bar in the front, sway bar in the back, probably a 12-bolt rear end. Some really tiny features that actually I was surprised at, like the chrome around the front park lights was an SS feature.
Right.
I don't have the park lights on it anymore. I got the signal lights set up a different way. I'm not sure what else would have been part of the trim package in '69, '68. Probably dual exhaust, probably a 4-barrel.
It's like taking people back in time, your own time machine. Peter Mason is here in a 1969 Chevelle SS. Can't forget the Super Sport.
Super Sport. Back to the future.
And you have 2 more gears. So, where did this passion for cars come from, Peter? Was your dad a car person? Your uncles, brothers?
Yeah, he was mechanically. My mother, actually, my biological mother, was very mechanical. She used to ride around with a bicycle with a motor on it.
Well, that's common now, but not so much then.
Yeah.
And obviously, this is perfect for car shows. Just the way this is looking, you've spent a lot of time, a lot of detailing.
Yeah.
So when you get ready to take this to a car show, how long does it take you to go over it?
It takes me probably 4 to 5 nights of working from, we'll say, 7 to 9. I got to jack up the car, you got to clean the bottom, and then you got to wax it or detail it.
Right.
Then you got to clean the interior, put some stuff on the interior like the seats and stuff. And then I have, you got to vacuum the floor. I put big sticky clear plastic over the floor mats and stuff, and then detail the engine. And it does. It takes a good while to do it.
I noticed some fellas and ladies will show their cars, they'll put mirrors underneath. I mean, you did all that work underneath it. Do you do that, or?
Yeah, the mirrors are right over there.
Oh, okay.
They're shaped like Chevy bow ties.
Perfect.
There's 4 of them.
And obviously, that's going to help your chances of being successful in a car show, I would hope.
Yeah, it's not all about being successful. I think it's more of, look at the detail, look at the time that he spent on cleaning the car, and it doesn't matter if I get an award. It's just show the car and show what I can do with the car.
You were lucky enough to find 2 fenders in stock in Moncton.
Yeah.
I'm looking at your Foose rims. I mean, you spent a lot of time, and it looks like a lot of the details are important to you.
Yeah.
Is this just a design that you come up with in your head, or did you plan it out, or did you just decide one morning this is what it's going to be?
No, it was never planned. I just look at something and say, wow, that would look really nice on it, and that's what I went with. Mind you, I do watch all the car shows, the pretty cool car shows like Can Dig It, Chip Foose, Dennis Gage. Actually, Chip Foose has signed the dash on this, Dennis Gage has signed the dash on it, and Gene Winfield signed the dash on this.
So these were all folks that were at the Nationals in Moncton?
Yep.
And what did they say about your car and your passion?
They're just down-to-earth kind of guys. Nice car, nice paint, nice detail, that's pretty much it.
The AM radio. It's not just an AM radio.
No, it's a retro radio. It's AM, FM, Bluetooth, auxiliary. And if you open up the glove box, there's actually a place to plug in your phone charger right over the corner there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Metal and sounding solid.
Yes.
They just don't make them like this anymore.
No, they don't.
But again, that came at a price. The reliability, I'm not saying this car was not reliable, but the days where you see pieces of tires and fan belts along the side of the road, those are, for the most part, over.
Those are gone. Yeah, unfortunately.
Or, well, of course, unfortunately, if you own a garage.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I love how all of the car companies recycle names and like I'm looking here at Astro Ventilation.
Astro Ventilation.
So basically, that's your air conditioning, which is drawn in air from the cylinder from around the fenders.
So, get back to like Astro and stuff like that. In the late 60s,
Yep.
it was all about going to space, going to the moon. You got the galaxy,
Right.
you got Astro Ventilation, Starliners, Ford Starliners.
It's just fun. Like I don't know what the origin of Chevelle is. I'm sure somebody does, but you know, it was a brand that it didn't last outside of the muscle car era.
Well, it did because they built the Chevelle right up to, well, it was a Chevelle Malibu.
Right.
So,
Okay.
you know, aren't they still making Malibus?
You got me on that. I'm not sure.
I think they are still making a Malibu. But it's not a Malibu like this.
Not a bad one. Really, you know, the pedals, it's obviously a standard transmission.
Yeah.
You say that you changed the cylinder, so that will change the way the feel of the transmission is? Or the
Well, I
clutch
put a
is?
hydraulic clutch in it, so there's no more levers. It's actually a little easier on the leg. Yeah, it's all hydraulic. Works well. The pedals aren't original. They're, I believe, from a company in the States called Billet Specialties.
Right. So yeah, the clutch feel seems fairly tight.
Yeah.
As you say with the hydraulic. This closure here. Just obviously you don't want the hood flying up.
No, that's an aftermarket hood latch.
Right. And would you know how many miles, how many times you've had this car out on the road? You've had it since, you know, almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years. Probably, I'd say maybe 10,000. Maybe.
Not bad.
No, maybe that.
Nobody talks about mileage when they talk about a muscle car.
No, I don't believe so. No, no.
Big enough fuel tank, I'm sure.
It is a very large tank, and it does consume a lot of fuel. But the good thing is, it's got a 5-speed, so when you're on the highway, you just slip it into fifth, and
Then it's miles per gallon.
yeah, it's miles per gallon. Yeah.
Fantastic. So now that you work on cars all the time, how much fun is it to play in a car?
It's a pleasure to play in this car.
Yeah.
It's still a pleasure, you know. I've been turning wrenches since 16.
Yep. Is that the only job you had?
Yep. Yeah, you know, we're just keepers of these cars. We just look after them. We pass them on to the next generation, and they look after them too. Will last a lifetime.
We can't leave without at least taking a look at this. What is it?
It's a 78 Nova.
A 78 Nova. I've seen those before.
You've probably never seen one like this one before. I
Okay.
guarantee it.
Okay, well, let me see it. That does not look like my father's 78 four-door. Well, there you go. Wow. I mean, I'm looking door handles, I'm looking windshield wipers, I'm looking at whatever this is popping out of the hood. I gotta say that we don't have time to look at this to hear all the stories. We're gonna have to come back. This has been an amazing adventure here on Maritime Machines. We'll be back for season 2 to take a look at this one.